The weapons room was strictly off-limits to anyone without clearance, yet there she stood, a woman in regular clothes, taking apart a Barrett .50 caliber rifle like she'd done it 1,000 times before. SEAL Commander Marcus Webb stopped in the doorway, watching her clean every piece with expert hands. "You can't be in here touching that weapon," he said firmly. She kept working, never looking up, never stopping. "I'm aware," she answered softly, still polishing the long barrel. That's when Webb spotted something that sent ice through his veins. The Naval Special Warfare Facility at Dam Neck, Virginia ran on security so tight that even experienced military members needed layers of approval just to enter the building. The weapons room, buried deep in the most protected part of the complex, demanded fingerprint scans, security cards, and an armed escort. Finding an unauthorized civilian here should have been completely impossible. Commander Marcus Webb had been walking to his office after a standard meeting when he caught movement in the weapons room from the corner of his eye. Through the thick glass window, someone was working at one of the special tables reserved only for the most sensitive gear. Webb stopped dead in his tracks. His 15 years in the military screamed that something was terribly wrong. The woman looked about 30 with reddish-brown hair tied back in a no-nonsense ponytail. She wore civilian clothes, dark pants and a plain white shirt that suggested desk work, not military duty. Her hands moved smoothly and deliberately as she worked on the disassembled rifle. Each motion showed years of practice. But it was the weapon itself that made Webb's heart drop. Even from where he stood, he recognized the unmistakable shape of a Barrett M82A1, a .50 caliber sniper rifle, one of the most restricted weapons the military owned. These rifles weren't just classified, they were tracked and watched with the same attention given to nuclear weapons. Webb stepped into the weapons room. His boots echoed on the concrete floor. The woman didn't react to his presence, continuing to clean the rifle's bolt with the kind of careful attention that showed deep knowledge of the weapon. "You can't be in here touching that weapon," Webb said, his voice carrying the command that had earned respect from Navy SEALs across 3 war zones. She didn't look up, didn't stop working. Her hands kept moving with precision, polishing each part until it shined before setting it carefully aside. "I'm aware," she answered softly, still polishing the barrel. Her casual confession stunned Webb. In 15 years of service, he'd never met someone who openly admitted they weren't authorized while continuing to do exactly what they shouldn't. "Then you need to back away from that rifle right now and tell me how you got into this building." "I walked in," she said, using a special tool to clean inside the rifle's chamber with expert skill. Webb's jaw tightened. The woman sounded conversational, almost friendly, like they were chatting about everyday things, instead of a major security breach. "This is a restricted zone. That weapon needs top-secret clearance and special access." "Yes," she cut in, still focused on her work. "Sensitive compartmented information. I understand the security levels." The fact that she knew the language for the highest clearances only made things stranger. Webb quickly looked around the room to make sure they were alone, then locked the door electronically so no one could interrupt. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows this rifle needs to be perfectly tuned in the next 4 hours. Webb watched her start examining the weapon's scope with the meticulous care he'd only seen from master weapon experts with decades of experience. Her movements were efficient, deliberate, and completely professional. "That's not an answer. It's the only answer that matters right now." Webb had dealt with enemy fighters, foreign spies, and uncooperative prisoners, but he'd never encountered someone who projected such calm skill while openly breaking military rules. "I'm asking you one last time. Who are you, and how did you get access to this weapon?" The woman finally looked up, meeting his eyes directly. Her eyes were deep brown, almost black, and they held a steadiness Webb had only seen in combat veterans who'd worked the most classified missions. "Commander Webb," she said, using his name even though he hadn't introduced himself. "Before you make any calls or hit any alarms, you should check the service log for this exact rifle." The fact that she knew his name sent a chill down his spine. He operated under multiple layers of classification, and his presence at this facility wasn't publicly known. "How do you know my name?" "The same way I know you've been wondering why this particular Barrett hasn't been properly serviced in 8 months. Webb felt everything shift. The woman was right. He had been worried about the maintenance schedule for several weapons, including this specific rifle, but that information was buried in classified reports that required admiral-level clearance to read. The service log for this weapon is classified. Terminal 7, access code Delta 77 Alpha, she said, returning her focus to the rifle's trigger system. Password is your mother's last name before marriage, followed by the year you finished SEAL training. Webb stared in shock. The access codes she'd just revealed were known to fewer than 6 people in the entire Navy, and they changed every month through a system that needed direct approval from Naval Special Warfare Command. That's not possible. Terminal 7, Commander. Check the law. Against every instinct and rule he'd learned in 15 years of service, Webb walked to the room's computer and typed in his access codes. The system accepted them and showed the main menu for classified weapons. He entered the code the woman had given him. The system instantly displayed a file he'd never seen. Barrett M82, A1, serial number 200T847, Special Operations Record. Webb's eyes went wide as he read the screen. Weapon status active. Classified mission assigned. User, redacted. Service history, 73 confirmed kills. Longest shot 3,247 meters. Last service, 8 months, 12 days ago. Next mission, classified. Service approval, level 5 clearance needed. Webb read it twice, trying to understand what he was seeing. 73 confirmed kills with a longest shot over 3,200 meters. The longest confirmed sniper kill in modern warfare was just under 3,600 meters, made by a Canadian sniper in Afghanistan with similar equipment. But it was the maintenance record that made his blood freeze. The rifle hadn't been properly serviced in over 8 months, yet according to the schedule, it was needed for an upcoming operation. This can't be real, Webb whispered, though he was starting to question what was real anymore. What can't be real? The woman asked, continuing her careful cleaning routine. The combat record for this weapon. Nobody makes consistent shots at 3,200 meters, just the physics alone. Bullet speed, 853 meters per second. Bullet drop at 3,247 meters, about 68 feet. Wind drift requires live weather data, she recited without looking up. Temperature, humidity, air pressure, and target movement all affect the final calculation. Webb felt dizzy. She was discussing long-range shooting math with the casual precision of someone who'd done these calculations hundreds of times under real combat conditions. You're talking about shots that need math beyond what most people think is possible. She finished. The user file is completely hidden. I know. If this is your weapon, then you're someone whose very existence is classified above your current clearance, she said calmly. Someone whose operations are kept secret to protect both national security and the people involved. Webb stared at the computer screen, then at the woman methodically cleaning what was apparently her personal sniper rifle. Everything he thought he understood about military operations, about security levels, about who could work in this facility was falling apart. What's your real name? Today, I'm Jennifer Walsh, civilian contractor, who specializes in precision equipment maintenance. She held up a cleaning rod. Which is exactly what I'm doing. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I'll be whoever needs to be behind this rifle when the shot must be taken. The mysterious answer was clearly all he would get. Webb found himself facing a choice that could define the rest of his career. He could follow standard rules, call security, and create an incident that would probably lead to congressional hearings and career-ending investigation. Or he could trust his gut, which told him this woman represented something far beyond his understanding or clearance level. Jennifer Walsh, he said finally, for the next few hours, why are you really here? Jennifer set down her cleaning supplies and looked at him with those unsettling dark eyes. Because this rifle needs to be flawless, for an operation that officially won't happen. To remove a threat that officially doesn't exist. What kind of operation? The kind where missing the shot means American soldiers don't come home. Webb felt a familiar chill, the same feeling he'd had before dangerous operations where lives were on the line. Jennifer talked about extreme-range precision shooting with the quiet confidence of someone who'd worked at the highest levels of classified missions. Are you saying there's a secret operation planned that needs? I'm saying this rifle needs to be ready. She interrupted. And right now it's not. Webb watched her return to her detailed maintenance work, each movement practiced and smooth. She wasn't just cleaning a weapon. She was preparing for something that demanded absolute precision under impossible conditions. How long have you been using this specific rifle? Long enough to know how it performs in every possible weather condition. The record shows 73 confirmed kills. The record shows what it's allowed to show. The meaning was clear. The official count was only part of her actual history. Webb tried to process that he was potentially dealing with one of the most effective snipers in military history, operating under classification so deep that her existence was officially deniable. Jennifer, he said carefully, I need to understand what's really happening here. What's happening is equipment maintenance. Commander, nothing more complicated than making sure this rifle works exactly as designed when it's needed most. Tomorrow's operation will need someone to make a shot most people would call impossible. And when that moment arrives, this weapon will be ready. The quiet certainty in her voice was more convincing than any mission briefing or intelligence report Webb had ever heard. He'd spent enough time in combat to tell the difference between confidence and skill. Jennifer Walsh had both in incredible amount. Can I help in any way? Jennifer looked up, and for the first time since they'd met, she smiled. It was subtle, barely there, but it completely changed her expression. You can make sure this conversation never happened. And if someone asks about the rifle service, tell them it was done by properly authorized people. You're not authorized. Commander Webb, Jennifer said, going back to her precise work. Authorization is just paperwork. Skill is what saves lives. Webb found himself nodding, though he wasn't sure why. Everything about this situation broke every rule he'd learned in 15 years of military service. But something deeper than regulations told him to trust this mysterious woman. The 3,200-meter shot, he said after a pause. Can that actually be done? Jennifer stopped cleaning, holding up a part to check it for tiny flaws. At 3,247 meters, through changing crosswinds, with a target moving at different speeds across rough ground, accounting for height difference, temperature changes, and air density, she set the part down and met his eyes direct. It was the only way to prevent a diplomatic disaster. Jesus, divine help wasn't available that day. Jennifer replied with dry humor. So I had to handle it myself. Despite how serious their conversation was, Webb found himself laughing. The tension that had been building since he first found her began to fade, replaced by professional respect for someone who could stay calm while discussing impossible military operations. How many people know what you can really do? As few as necessary. And how many people need to know? Even fewer. Webb nodded, understanding the clear need for absolute secrecy. Whatever Jennifer Walsh's true identity and operational history were, they needed the kind of compartmentalization that could only work through strictly limiting who knew. Tomorrow's mission, he said. Will it be dangerous? Commander, everything I do involves danger that would terrify most people. Tomorrow just has a higher level of difficulty than usual. For you personally? For everyone whose lives depend on my accuracy. Jennifer started putting the Barrett back together with the same smooth precision she'd used to take it apart. Webb watched, amazed by how fast and efficient her movements were. Each part fit together with mechanical perfection, the result of countless hours of practice and deep familiarity with the weapon. The reassembly showed the true depth of her expertise. She didn't just know how the rifle worked. She understood its mechanical soul. Every adjustment was made with the precision of someone who'd fired thousands of rounds through this exact weapon. Someone who knew how temperature affected the barrel's vibrations, how different ammunition performed in various weather. You know, Webb said, in 15 years of military service, I've never met anyone with your level of skill. Most people haven't. Is that on purpose? That's survival. The rifle was almost complete now, transformed from scattered pieces back into a precision tool capable of reaching targets at distances most people couldn't even see clearly. Jennifer worked without looking at any manual or guide. Every detail was stored permanently in her memory. As she made final adjustments to the scope mount, Webb noticed something he'd missed earlier. Her hands showed the subtle marks that identified a professional operator. Trigger fingers slightly flattened from endless hours of shooting. Small scars on her knuckles from taking apart weapons in harsh conditions. The kind of hands that belonged to someone who lived by precision and preparation. Jennifer, can I ask something personal? You can ask? Do you ever think about the mental cost of what you do? Jennifer paused, her hands going still on the rifle. For a moment, Webb saw something vulnerable in her face. A brief glimpse of the human being under the professional operator mask. Every time I pull the trigger, she said quietly. But thinking about the cost doesn't change what's necessary, and what makes tomorrow necessary. Someone who threatens American interests needs to be permanently eliminated. The cold precision of her words reminded Webb exactly who he was dealing with. Jennifer Walsh might look like a civilian contractor, but she was a weapon as carefully calibrated as the Barrett rifle she was preparing. Will you be safe? Safety isn't something people in my position can afford. But you'll complete the mission. Jennifer looked at him with an expression mixing gratitude and sadness. Commander Webb, people like me don't measure success by survival. We measure it by mission completion, and the lives we save by taking shots others can't make. The rifle was fully assembled now, looking exactly as it had when Webb first spotted Jennifer working. But he knew it was fundamentally different. Calibrated, adjusted, and prepared for whatever impossible task waited. Do you need anything else? Webb asked. Just your silence and your trust. You have both. Jennifer stood, lifting the Barrett's carrying case with practiced ease. The complete system weighed over 30 pounds, but she handled it like an extension of her own body. Commander Webb, she said, reaching out her hand. He shook it, noting the calluses from extensive weapons training, and the steady grip that showed absolute confidence under pressure. Jennifer Walsh, he replied. It's been an honor meeting you. The honor was mine. And Jennifer? Yes? Make the shot count. She smiled again, that same subtle expression hinting at depths and experiences he'd never fully understand. Every shot counts, Commander. Tomorrow's just happens to count more than most. With that, she turned and walked toward the exit, moving with the quiet efficiency of someone used to operating in shadows and classified spaces. Webb watched until she vanished beyond the security gate, leaving him alone with questions that would never get official answer. He went back to the computer and looked at the rifle service record one last time. 73 confirmed kills. Longest shot, 3,247 meters. Statistics representing lives ended and missions completed by someone whose existence was officially classified beyond acknowledgement. Webb closed the file and started the security process that would erase all access records from this session. Whatever Jennifer Walsh was planning for tomorrow, whatever impossible shot she might need to make, it would happen without any official documentation or recognition. But he would remember. He would carry the memory of a woman who maintained a rifle like a sacred duty, and discussed 3,200-meter shots as routine work requirement. 36 hours later, international news reported the elimination of a high-value terrorist target during a failed attack on American diplomatic staff. The reports credited coalition special operations forces and gave no details about how the elimination was achieved from an impossible distance under impossible conditions. Webb watched the news and thought about a woman named Jennifer Walsh, who didn't officially exist, carrying a rifle that had never been deployed, making shots that defied mathematical probability. And he would classify this encounter alongside all the other compartmentalized experiences that defined military service at the highest levels of national security. Some secrets were worth protecting. Some people were worth shielding, even when protecting them meant pretending they'd never existed at all. In the official service log, the entry for that day showed routine work performed by authorized staff. No names, no details, no trace of the conversation that had fundamentally changed Webb's understanding of the invisible operations conducted to defend American interests. Jennifer Walsh would join the ranks of ghost stories whispered among special operations members. The sniper who could make impossible shots, who appeared and disappeared like smoke, who carried secrets that could never be shared. And somewhere in the world, a Barrett .50 caliber rifle would be waiting for the next time someone needed to eliminate a threat at 3,200 meters. Because some problems could only be solved from very, very far away, by someone who officially had never been there at all. The weapon would rest in secure storage, maintained to perfection, ready for the next impossible mission that would never appear in any official record, carried out by operators whose names were written in classified ink on documents that would be destroyed the moment their missions were complete. In the shadows of national security, some stories were never meant to be told, and some heroes were never meant to be known.